Okay, in this video I'm going to show you some tips about how to make a fancy custom cursor. So if you don't want just the regular mouse cursor to hit your moles, if you want something fancy, we can do that too. So just to get started here on the main timeline, I have a movie clip. Now that thing, again, is a movie clip. He's not an image. I can't write code for an image, so make sure that it's a movie clip. You can give him instance name if you want to. That's probably a reserved word, so let's there we go. And you could write this code on the main timeline, or you could write it in the cursor. I'm going to put it, let's try to put it in the cursor, and that'll make it more exciting. So I'm going to go in here. Now when I go in here, what I have is some crazy tweening, and it's got its own timeline. We won't worry about that too much right now, but I've got a code layer. On this code layer, we need to write some code. Now, it sounds, custom cursor sounds really fancy. It's really not so bad. All I'm going to do is say that this movie clip, this hammer, is going to add an event listener. And say that every frame, which is 24 frames, 24 times a second, it will call move it, which I have not written yet. It has to take in an event because it's attached to the enter frame event. You can also do this with a mouse move event, but mouse move event is a little laggier, I think, than the enter frame event. So you can play with it depending on which way you like it. And basically all I want to do is say that I want my x to be, now this is a little bizarre, I'm pretty sure I'll have to ask the stage for the mouse x. I just made that up though. Let's see. Because otherwise if I let it be relative to me, then if I just say mouse x and not stage.mouse x, I think everything will be relative to my world, which is this crosshair right here, and all the positions will be relative to that, which I think is kind of a problem. So again, I think you want to talk to the x of the mouse relative to the entire stage. Let's see if that is a huge error. Oh, very nice. Awesome. Now, the only other thing is, technically, when you're clicking in this setup, pay no attention to that. Technically, when you're clicking to this setup, on the setup, you're going to be clicking on that hammer because it's underneath the mouse, and you don't actually want to be clicking on the hammer. You want that hammer to completely ignore all of your clicking. Because you want to be actually clicking on the mole that's underneath the hammer. So if you want your hammer to totally ignore you, or your cursor, or whatever it is, I'm going to go into that guy. I'm going to say, in the very beginning, I'm going to say mouse enabled is false, and mouse children is false. Mouse enabled, not enables, enabled. There it is. So that just basically says that the mouse doesn't pay any attention to your hammer or cursor, which is good because, again, you don't want the cursor to steal the click. You want it to ignore the click, and so it can click on whatever's underneath the cursor. So this just says he's actually dead to the mouse, which is good. And you could also say, I think I did this on the main timeline. Let's see. Whoops, I don't want to save that. So again, here we go. We've got this thing who is following the mouse. I will be able to click because the mouse is not enabled and the mouse children are not enabled. I should be able to click and it should hear me on whatever is underneath that dude. And that's awesome. The only thing is that original mouse cursor is a little ugly and I don't like it. But that's okay because I think I put this on the main timeline. You could probably put it wherever you want. Mouse.hide. There's also mouse.show, which you would probably want later. So mouse.hide just says be sure that you don't show me the ugly original mouse cursor, which is nice. Now, if you wanted to be extra fancy, if you want to have some kind of animation, like for example, this guy has a timeline that is his. The only thing is you want to be able to hear when they click really anything, anywhere. So what you could say is mouse down is triggered faster than mouse click, because mouse click has to be a down and an up before it gets triggered. So now notice I want this to be attached to the entire stage. So anywhere you click on the stage, this stage will hear it and will trigger this event, which is attached to a function I haven't written yet. Now this one has to take in a mouse event, not a plain old vanilla event, but a mouse event. And then I'm in the brain of the hammer, so I'm just going to say play. So hopefully anytime the stage hears a click, the hammer will just play through his timeline. That timeline has a stop on frame 1, so that it will play through, loop back around, and stop. And that is the fanciest custom cursor you could ever have. Now the only thing with a custom cursor is you want to be really careful about make sure the user understands where the actual hit is occurring. Does that make sense? Because you have this big old hammer floating around the screen. Am I supposed to hit it with this part of the hammer, that part of the hammer, that part of the hammer? You may give them some visual cue. Well, this is going to be an ugly visual cue, but you may give them some kind of visual cue, like draw them just a little red X or a little circle or something that's really ugly, so that they, but again, that way they don't do that, but something of that nature, so they'll know, like, this is that part of the hammer is what you need to line up on your mold to get a hit. But that's a custom cursor. Good luck with that.